We're gonna go over the best ways you can lose weight and gain strength, and we're gonna start right now. So some of the basic principles behind losing weight have to be covered before we actually go into how we can lose weight, how we can gain strength. And so what we did is we actually decided internally here at Garage Strength, we wanted to do an experiment. We wanted to take a 6-week experiment where myself, who works out 5 to 6 days a week, would alter my eating, would alter my nutrition and try to lose weight. And then one of my employees, Trevor Stutzman, who was a Division III NCAA All-American as a shot putter, will also alter his nutrition and start working out again. It's been about 3 years since he was really steadfast with his exercise. So what we did is we took these 6 weeks, we ran some tests in the beginning, and then we altered our nutrition and we altered our training plan, and then that led to the results that we'll have to supply you with so that you can understand the basic concepts behind losing weight and increasing your strength. Okay, starting off with the internal testing. What we ended up doing is we started day 0, right? I back squatted for a set of 3, up to a max set of 3. Trevor decided to do a front squat for a max set of 3. He liked front squat over back squat because he's had a little bit of back pain caused by back squat in the past. He hasn't worked out in a while, so he wanted to do the front squat. Then we went and tested our bench press set of 5. So we have a lower body strength test, then we have a bench press set of 5. What happens over the span of 6 weeks if we test 5 rep max on day 0 and then 5 rep max at the end of those 6 weeks? And then we also factored in an aerobic capacity test here where we got on the assault bike and we gave ourselves a 5-minute time frame and we burned as many calories as possible within that 5-minute time frame. We also checked our body weight. So we were able to see what's our body weight, what's our 3 rep max on the squat variation of our choice, what's our bench press 5 rep max, and then what's our caloric burn on the assault bike over a 5-minute period. So those were where the tests were done by Trevor and I, and then we could see over the next 6 weeks what ends up happening. So the results that we came up with: body weight. Trevor was 242, I was 245.
245, 4.
I'm interested to see how much weight I lose when I'm in the sauna.
Back squat for me was 180 kilos for 3. I will say I had a little bit of a hip problem when we tested that first time. Trevor front squatted 110 kilos for a triple, which is ironic because when he was in really good shape, he could snatch 110 kilos for a triple. Bench press for 5, I hit 380, Trevor hit 285 for 5, okay? So that's where our bench press was. And then for calories on the assault bike over a 5-minute time frame, I hit 76.9 calories.
You gotta go hard. Come on. You gotta go hard.
Trevor hit 72.2 calories in that 5-minute time frame. So those were a pretty good baseline for us to go into this long 6-week study so that we can help you lose weight and gain strength. So what are the basics behind weight loss? Because that's what we have to think about then. As we go through this test, the basics of weight loss go back to the seesaw. Calories in, calories out. I'm gonna use the example here. For both of us, we wanted to cut weight. So we knew we were burning about 3,000 calories a day. So both of us knew to stimulate that weight loss, we had to eat under 3,000 calories. And typically you won't see too much of an adaptation unless you cut about 400 to 450, 500 calories. So that's when you're gonna start to see that weight start to shed. Both of us also decided, based off of the research, that when we're cutting weight, we want to keep our protein intake a little bit higher. We're both weighing close to 240 pounds, so we want to keep our protein consumption around 220 to 245 grams, somewhere in that range. That's gonna help us stave off hunger. That's gonna help us increase our lean muscle mass and lead to more weight loss. And then finally, both of us decided neither of us were gonna cut carbs. Both of us were gonna keep carbohydrates in our diet, because that's a common misconception, is that we've gotta cut carbs if we wanna lose weight. Yes, you will see an immediate drop off of water weight, but it still comes back to that calories in, calories out. And we knew that if we wanted to do this and sustain it and then have a long-term implementation into our lives, we should have a balanced diet for the most part. And so the only thing that we did differently regarding our nutrition plan is that I ended up fasting throughout the entire day for about 18 hours. Trevor followed a normal, sensible diet that had him eating balanced meals. The reason why I chose the fasting is I just wanted to play around with it and see what happened. I've got a crazy schedule, maybe it would work out. I don't foresee fasting being this quick fix to everything, but I thought, why not play around with it and see what ends up happening? Okay, so we're halfway through the diet. We're 3 weeks in. Let's see how Trevor and I were doing at that 3-week mark.
Just a warm up. Gotta burn those calories. My goal is to burn 110 calories on the bike every day to make my protein shake free.
Training's been going well. Feel slightly weak. Feels the most weak doing endurance work. But still feel pretty good. Overall, my body's adapting.
How do you think you're doing compared to Trevor?
I'm beating him. I know I'm beating him.
What?
Everything.
Everything.
How's your benching been feeling?
Good. I put like 30 pounds on so far. Trying to keep working up.
Okay, so we checked out how we were feeling during that first 3 weeks, and then as we started to train and do more strength work, we started to feel pretty good, right? So I started to feel good. I was able to push it a little bit more on the assault bike. I even had a little bit of an elbow injury because I was clowning around with some of the meathead shot putters, and I was still able to continue to push my upper body strength training. I never felt like I was really run down during the actual strength work. So that helped me with motivation. I was more motivated to get on the assault bike and do consistent work on the assault bike. I was more motivated to squat. I was more motivated to bench press. And regarding Trevor, Trevor was able to really start to drive that spark with his own exercise and fitness level. You know, he was a very strong shot putter in college, a 3-time All-American. He could bench press 405 for reps. He was an absolute machine. So he was starting to get that spark coming back. And while he was even losing weight, he was staying motivated. And I think that's a key concept here, is that if you establish that sound nutritional plan, you will be able to recover from your strength training, and you're gonna feel good, and you'll be even more motivated to push your strength while you're losing that fat mass. And so some of those key concepts here regarding the strength work is that you've gotta get at least 10 sets per week per exercise. So take an example with Trevor's bench press. He was making sure that at least twice a week he could hit the bench, and he would do at least 5 sets on day 1 and at least 5 sets on day 2. Or if he did 8 sets on day 1, he'd do 2 to 3 sets on day 2. Making sure you're at least getting 10 sets of strength work per week per exercise will help maintain that strength or increase your strength. If you go below that 10 set threshold, it might be a little bit harder to increase your strength. If you go above it, make sure that you're getting enough protein, and you're probably gonna get even stronger. And so that takes us into those final key results. Now we have the final key results. I went and did the testing on the back end. Trevor went and did the testing on the back end so that we can see, did cutting calories help us? Did fasting or not fasting, which one paid off the most? We didn't cut carbohydrates, so did we actually lose weight? And were we able to gain strength or at least maintain our strength while we were cutting this weight? Before we go into finding out all of the results behind whether or not Trevor and I actually gained strength and lost weight, I want to share one of the best things that you can do to enhance your overall weight loss and enhance your overall recovery from your arduous training regimen. And that's going to be taking earth-fed muscle whey protein. One of the key concepts behind whey protein come back to when you're in a caloric deficit, your protein intake should be a little bit higher. That's gonna help you recover from your overall training. It's also going to help you with your hunger. If I'm more satiated, I'm going to have less cravings. That will be less triggers to eat more food. And that's one of the key things behind earth-fed muscles whey protein. It's gonna help with recovery, and it's gonna help stave off that hunger so that you can optimize your overall recovery and gain strength and lose weight. Okay, so the final results are in, right? We came in, we did all the tests. I dropped down to 231.6 pounds. Trevor dropped down to 228.6 pounds. Now, ironically, we lost the exact same amount of weight, poundage-wise. I lost about 5.4% of my body weight. Trevor lost 5.6% of his body weight.
So you both lost exactly 14.2 pounds.
That's really weird, actually.
That's ridiculous.
Do I have abs? When we went into the back squat versus the front squat, I back squatted 187 kilos for a triple. Trevor did 120 kilos for a triple on the front squat. So I had a 3.7% increase. Trevor saw an 8.4% increase. So dramatically had an increase in his strength gains while he lost a substantial amount of weight. Remember, he lost 5.6% of his body weight, but he increased his front squat strength by 8%. Now on the bench press, I hit 385 for 5, so I went up 5 pounds, like a 1% increase. Trevor went to 335 for 5. That's a 15% increase in his strength in his upper body, which is absolutely insane. That's phenomenal. And then finally, we were interested because we had this very substantial increase in our strength while we were cutting a large amount of body weight, 5 to 5.5% of our body weight. We wanted to see what happened aerobically. Were we gassed out because we weren't eating enough carbs? Were we able to handle the aerobic aspect? Did we train our aerobic capacity as well as we possibly could? And that led to the 5-minute assault bike test, which is the test that I was most nervous for. Trevor went first and he hit 86.3 calories, and that led to a 16.4% increase in his test score. Now, when I tested out that 5-minute calorie burn on the assault bike, I hit 90.9 calories, which ended up being a 15.4% increase for myself. So we both saw a fairly substantial weight loss, 5 to 5.5% of our body weight over a 6-week time frame, which is very, very reasonable. It's almost exactly where science would say is like a healthy cut. We also saw a very impressive increase in all of our strength levels, as well as our aerobic capacity. And what's unique here is that I had this fasting diet that was still, pretty high protein, very high carbohydrates, right? Trevor was on the other side where he had a very balanced diet, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe a snack mixed in there. Still very balanced, carbs, protein, and then fat sort of filled in the rest of the diet. The key here now is, what did we learn from this test that now you can take and start to lose weight and gain strength? I think the key factor right away with Trevor's massive increase in his strength is that, he started working out consistently and regularly again. So one of those key factors for him was just triggering his spark to get back into the weight room and to prioritize his health. And that next key factor for both of us was, let's try to eat a little bit less. And then the second key factor, if we want to increase our strength gains, we've got to get at least 10 sets of strength work per exercise per week. That's a foundational concept that everybody can follow. That third key factor, if you want to increase your aerobic capacity, make sure that you're doing your aerobic test, whether it's running or jogging or sprinting or on the assault bike, ski erg, whatever it might be, at least 3 days a week for 20 to 30 minutes every single one of those days. And then finally, because you're increasing your exercise, make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure that you're sleeping at least 7 hours a day to improve your recovery. So you're eating a little bit less, you're improving and increasing your exercise, and you're sleeping a little bit more effectively so that you're recovering from everything. Another key concept that we learned was just being aware of our triggers. So what are our cravings, right? When we start to crave something, what can we do? If I'm somebody who loves chocolate, if I crave chocolate, what can I do to avoid eating that chocolate, or what can I replace that chocolate with to create something that's a little bit more habitual? If we're under a lot of stress, what can we do to actually alleviate that stress, which might be doing things that are more mindful focused? So praying or meditating, anything along those lines, or just making sure that you're fully prepared for the day. If you're prepared for the day ahead of time, you might be under a lot of stress, but because you packed your lunch, you're not going to go to McDonald's and overeat. You're just going to eat your lunch that you already have packed. So that helps manage that stress. And then one of those key concepts for me that I learned that was very, very beneficial is that I was traveling quite a bit. I was gone for 3 weekends out of those 6, and 2 of those weekends I was working 4 or 5 straight days at like 12 hours a day. And because I was fasting, it fit into my schedule and it helped me deal with the stress of traveling. Typically when I travel, I might drink alcohol a little bit more, I might eat more junk during the day, but because I knew what my schedule was gonna be, I had planned ahead and said, hey, you know what, if I'm focusing on my health and I wanna lose weight, I think fasting will be more beneficial because I won't be picking at food throughout the day and not be aware of the amount of caloric intake that I'm going to be having. So those key concepts to help you lose weight and gain strength. Again, remember, if you want to gain strength, 10 sets per week per specific exercise that you want to increase your strength on. Make sure that you're exercising more in general, okay? Make sure that you're in a caloric deficit. If you're in a caloric deficit, that's going to increase your weight loss. Optimize your sleep to enhance your recovery. be more mindful, and then finally understand what you're gonna do when you're being triggered in a stressful situation or if you're traveling. Those are some key concepts that will help you lose weight and gain strength. So if you need help with this, you can click on the link down below, head over to garagestrength.com. You can pick up our high performance nutrition plan to help you get on track to lose weight and gain strength. And remember guys, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.